My father passed away in 2015 from pancreatic cancer. He left his estate and he put it into a trust, a family trust.
Gabe is the only beneficiary of his father's trust. Because of this, he enlisted the help of a family friend to serve as trustee, the person who helps disperse the trust how Gabe's dad, the maker of the trust, intended. But when life got busy for the trustee,
This person decided we got to find a new trustee.
Gabe decided to hire a fiduciary. Fiduciaries do a number of things, including overseeing other people's money in trusts and estates. California law says professional fiduciaries can act as trustee, power of attorney for health and finances, as well as serve as conservator. Overall, a fiduciary's job is to serve as a third party and work on behalf of their client's best interest.
And that's when we found Donna.
Gabe said he picked Donna Kell to serve as fiduciary because she sat on the Professional Fiduciary Bureau's advisory committee, a position appointed by the governor.
So we felt it's pretty credible.
The Professional Fiduciary Bureau was created in 2007 in legislation that was sparked after an LA Times investigation exposed multiple abuses happening by conservators.
It's a huge nationwide problem.
Abuse by fiduciaries, particularly conservators, is something Carol Herman has been tracking. She's the founder of the national nonprofit corporation Foundation Aiding the Elderly.
I mean, I've done this work over 30 years, and I've been aware of this the guardianships and the conservators for years. And I've got 9 banker boxes full of cases.
That's why she was all for the creation of the Bureau.
I was instrumental in getting the Fiduciary Board established in California. I testified at the legislature with my experience and why I felt there was a need for it.
According to the Professional Fiduciaries Act, the Bureau was created to regulate non-family member professional fiduciaries. And professional fiduciaries handle a lot of other people's money. The Bureau lists each licensed fiduciary and how much money they oversee. We went through the Bureau's online records and added it up. It estimated to just under $13 billion of other people's assets fiduciaries handle. That's just in California. While the Bureau tracks the money fiduciaries handle, they don't keep tallies on the amount of clients they have under their care.
I'd want to know how many people more than how much money. This is the issue where they're putting dollars above human beings.
It's a lot of money and power, and the establishment of the Professional Fiduciary Bureau was intended to create oversight.
So I thought, well, this is great. There's an agency within the government that if you have a problem, you can file a complaint, and the investigators go in and investigate these conservatorship cases to see, well, what's really going on here? Well, it didn't happen. I believe I was the first person in the state to file official complaints.
The 118-page detailed complaint included extensive court documents, doctors' evaluations, and attorney correspondence on a case we've covered previously in our investigation, that of Mary Jane Mann.
Very well documented, list of everything that happened, statements under penalty of perjury.
She believes it was the first complaint ever filed in California. It was against a fiduciary we've introduced you to in our investigation, Carolyn Young.
This was a lot of work to put a complaint together, and nobody did anything about it.
Carol says she never received any written response to her complaint. She said on October 18, 2011, over 2.5 years after she filed the complaint, she got a phone call from the PFB saying they closed the complaint. While the PFB says every complaint filed gets an acknowledgement letter after 10 days, long wait times for resolutions is something we've heard over and over again from multiple people we've spoken with throughout our investigation, including Julie Doherty.
And I have filed a complaint on the California Professional Fiduciaries Bureau.
We filmed this interview in September of 2020. It's now May 2021, and Julie says she still has yet to receive a decision or overall response. According to the notes from the Bureau's meetings, the PFB receives around 135 complaints each year. In a statement to us, they said they investigate every complaint. But when we dug deeper, our investigation found the reason behind the delay in response to complaints. We requested a full list of every employee that works for the PFB. In response, we got a staff list of 3, one being the person who does investigations, Sue Lowe. This means the Professional Fiduciary Bureau, the only state agency overseeing fiduciaries, has only one person to investigate hundreds of detailed complaints.
For 3 years, there was 408 complaints filed by the public. Exactly 0 complaints resulted in any disciplinary action. I'm sorry, I don't buy those numbers. You do not get 408 complaints from the public and not one be a violation.
Richard Calhoun and Linda Kincaid are the co-founders of CEDAR.
It stands for Coalition for Elder and Disability Rights.
They founded the organization after Linda's mother was placed under a conservatorship in 2010. Linda said it was physically and financially abusive.
She was skin and bones, and we found out in litigation that she wasn't getting fed.
They're worried with little oversight, nothing will change.
If I don't change the system, I'll be a victim. I'd rather kill myself than be a future target the way the system is now.
Since its start in 2014, they've made a name for themselves in being strong, well-known advocates within California conservatorships.
When they see us coming, they know what we're there to talk about.
They monitor case after case of conservatorships in California, and one of their biggest concerns is lack of oversight by the Professional Fiduciary Bureau, especially regarding complaints.
In one case, a fiduciary actually killed her client. She withheld food and hydration, and he died. And the court ordered her to restore food and hydration, and she did after 3 days, but that was too long and he died. And I turned that in to the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau. Every single one of those cases, they found no violation of the license.
That's because the Professional Fiduciary Bureau does not investigate criminal activity. They say they don't do these types of investigations because they're a licensing agency. The Bureau told us that they are not a law enforcement agency and do not have the authority by law to conduct criminal investigations.
If you believe a crime has occurred, you should contact law enforcement to submit those allegations.
Law enforcement believes that once you're conserved, you no longer are entitled to law enforcement protection. The law enforcement says, oh, that goes to Adult Protective Services, which are social workers. So you end up with less protection once you turn 65.
This means that when abuse happens in a conservatorship, the PFB will direct those concerned about the abuse to law enforcement, and law enforcement directs them to Adult Protective Services.
And it gets even more nuanced than that because most of the conservatees are in facilities, and Adult Protective Services only provides service for people in the community. So they don't even provide service in the facilities.
The PFB has never cited any licensee for any issues related to care.
This is in spite of the Bureau being created to regulate professional fiduciaries, and their code of ethics saying the protection of the public shall be the highest priority for the Bureau, as well as in the California Code of Regulations that fiduciary licensees must comply with all local, state, and federal laws, regulations, and requirements.
It's okay to kill your client. That's not a violation of your license. The only things they're issuing citations on are you didn't submit your paperwork on time. You didn't pay your licensing fee on time. Now that'll get you a citation. There are a few cases where licensees have lost their license. That happens after some other court finds a problem, does an investigation, goes through whatever months, years are required for the courts to grind through these cases. Thank you for confirming that you do nothing until there is a conviction and you let people operate who have done horrible things, and unless they're convicted, it's all okay with you guys. Thank you for that confirmation.
When the Professional Fiduciary Bureau does take action, these documents become public records. So far, there's been 78 fiduciaries that have been reprimanded by the Bureau. Now, we went through each and every one of these documents to see what the Bureau has taken action against. And what we found is one of the most common reasons fiduciaries are cited is for submitting their annual accountings late. But Linda and Richard say auditing and accounting wasn't being done before their organization brought it to the PFB's attention.
They only started auditing the statements because we were tormenting them about it.
It doesn't add up. There's money missing.
Linda and Richard found that multiple fiduciaries' annual statements to the PFB weren't in alignment with court records.
I look at her annual statements to the PFB, and she's reporting, the first year she reported that she didn't have any prior cases, I think. Like, well, actually she's had hundreds. And that's how we got the audits rolling. By doing a few of these, it's like, oh my, the court records don't agree with what you have in your annual statements. This doesn't make sense.
When we asked the PFB about how their auditing process works, they said they cannot discuss it. Some of the citations we found that the PFB has issued but didn't end in a license being revoked includes a fiduciary in San Diego County who forged clients' signatures on multiple documents, including checks and a pink slip, as well as sold a car without the client's knowledge. Another fiduciary in San Diego sold a client's condominium far below the market value and without getting an appraisal. In Contra Costa County, a fiduciary was fined by the PFB after she entered a nursing home with a notary and attempted to have a patient already diagnosed with Alzheimer's sign documents that would make her the conservator. All of these fiduciaries' licenses are still active. So what about fiduciaries that have had their licenses revoked, suspended, or surrendered? The PFB's documents on that show even more serious abuse. For example, a fiduciary in San Diego County lost $920,000 gambling, which was more than their income. An investigation showed this fiduciary was withdrawing money directly from their clients' trust funds to gamble. She was sentenced in 2011 to 18 months in prison. In Santa Clara County, a fiduciary allowed her boyfriend to divert $16.2 million to invest in real estate and startup tech adventures without the knowledge of her clients. Other examples include fiduciaries overpaying their own fees, transferring thousands of dollars between different client trusts, and taking excess fees from these trusts with no explanation.
Donna Kell, Professional Fiduciary, Sacramento.
And one fiduciary who surrendered her license was Donna Kell.
When we first hired her, issues began to arise.
Along with not receiving his distributions from the trust, Gabe was unable to get important tax documents from a Kell.
The ability for me to make contact with her became extremely strained.
Difficulty in reaching fiduciaries is a pattern we found in our investigation.
There's a lot of it being misled.
This is what led Gabe to file a report with the Professional Fiduciary Bureau, sparking their investigation into a Kell while she served on the Bureau's advisory committee, a committee appointed to oversee and guide the Bureau.
This is Dawn. I too am a professional fiduciary.
And he wasn't alone in a lack of care from a Kell. The report of the Bureau's investigation showed multiple clients of a Kell who were not served in their best interest. The report showed a Kell liquidated a client's stock in 2015 without their knowledge to make a full cash purchase on a home which she named herself on the deed as co-owner. She allowed her daughter to rent her client's home for a rate under the market from 2015 to 2018 and charged utilities to the client's estate, hired her brother to serve as caregiver, used her client's credit card to make purchases on her Amazon account, and even gave a client's military jacket to her uncle without the client's knowledge, among other charges.
When she had to talk to the investigator, she actually billed the trust for her time spent interviewing.
The Professional Fiduciary Bureau issued a citation as well as an accusation that resulted in a Kell surrendering her license on October 27, 2020. We reached out to Donna Kell. She declined to answer our questions. Today, Gabe has a new fiduciary he likes and says he has no problem communicating with. He, as well as Carol Herman, hope that in telling their stories, it encourages the PFB and other government entities to take more action against abuses in the fiduciary industry.
I think there's some good private fiduciaries out there, but I think there's also a lot that aren't.
It's the sort of stuff that people should go to jail for, but they don't.
And I think it's the responsibility of this fiduciary board to protect the vulnerable citizens of this state